The Maroon White Pod brought to you by Citylink. For bookings, timetables, updates and any other information, head to citylink.ie. You're welcome along to the Maroon White Pod. We're here to preview Galway and Dublin in the All-Ireland Senior Ladies Football Championship quarter-final, where Galway take on Dublin at 7:30 in Pernell Park. And I'm joined by former Galway Ladies footballer Tracey Leonard and former Dublin Ladies footballer Ciara Trant to look ahead to the game. First of all, Tracey, coming to you, what have you made of Galway so far in 2024?
I suppose to date, Galway have had a mixed kind of campaign. I suppose the league probably didn't go as well for them as they thought they would. Now looking at it, I suppose there was a few games that could have gone in either way for them, like the game in Armagh, I suppose against Dublin as well. They nearly had Dublin pipped in the league. The Waterford game, I suppose the relegation battle, it could have gone either way for them. They were unlucky on the day. But then I suppose it turned around and it's Mayo. They're great. You can never say never with them. And I suppose me, Cork down through the years have never been an easy. I know they're probably a changed team, Cork, this year. For me, looking at them, they have a lot of new players brought in, but again, Cork are Cork, and they were physically very strong. Again, on the day, I know it's only ifs, maybes, buts. They probably missed a few chances that if they'd taken them chances could have been a different outlook. They didn't. That's where Cork came away with the win, and then I suppose the Laois game. Laois for me are a team I suppose I didn't come up much against in my own playing career, but I suppose if Galway had any aspirations of going places this year, I suppose they needed to be beating Laois, which they did, which gave them good confidence. So I suppose this weekend against Dublin is really one that they're probably going to relish. I suppose with Dublin being one of the top teams going for Brendan Martin this year, it'll probably tell them where they're at.
Ciara, Dublin have really looked the form team in the championship so far.
Yeah, they like similar to Galway, they probably didn't have a good run at the league, and they tried out a lot of new players, but they were winning matches where Galway were kind of losing them. And then championship, look, the Leinster Championship isn't as competitive, and even if you consider Meath this year, they're not the Meath team they were 2 and 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But Dublin have been racking up high scores in all their matches. I think they were very flat against Mayo the last day, but got over the line. And I don't think we've seen the best of this Dublin team yet. I think they've been kind of tipping away, and maybe Leinster suited them to kind of like build up slowly. And for them, I think the season is only getting started. And as much as Galway will be relishing the match of the weekend, I think Dublin will be very wary. Like from my own playing days, we came out on the right side of big games against Galway. There was always kind of an element of fear in the unknown with Galway. They always had this kind of potential to do like this whirlwind performance. So Dublin won't be complacent going in. They'll know that these Galway's players, although there's some new faces to what we faced traditionally over the last couple of years, they've a wealth of experience. Girls that have been playing in not only Club All Ireland finals, but regularly competing at the top of the league and Connacht championships, and then championship quarterfinals, semi-top finals. It's a guarantee for Galway every single year. So Dublin won't be going in thinking this is a handy one like they've gotten from the rest of the Leinster Championship and the round robin series.
Tracey, this has been a stage where maybe Galway has stumbled over the last few years at the quarterfinal stage. Why do you think that is?
It's probably a good question. I suppose that it's a question that has been asked numerous times. I suppose if this Galway team, as Ciara said, had a lot of potential, but I think failed to prove it on big days. And like Galway have, I suppose you look within the county, and I suppose you look at the big thing you look at is Kilkerran Clonburn's success. And a lot of people would wonder, how come Galway aren't competing and winning All Irelands? But like, as I keep saying, and I probably a bit of a repeat, but club is very different to county, and like you'll have club players that are very, very strong that are unable to match. You're unable to match their strong players within the club, and then you go to county series and you have county standard, which is very, very different. Like the fitness levels, the physicality levels are phenomenal there. Like, and I suppose within Galway, there's players there like that. I suppose Dublin will have identified, looking ahead to the weekend. And I think within Galway, when you stop their physically very strong players that are going forward, have Galway developed a plan outside of their players that are very, very strong? For me, just in the last few years, have we had a plan B? And I think once plan has been marshaled by a team, which is very evident and very obvious, what's the plan B? I just don't know. Have we come up with plan B in the last few years? And that for me, I feel is where we have fallen, that, to develop another strategy outside, I feel it's where we're falling, where Galway are falling.
Is that outside of it's probably stating the obvious, but like Olivia Dibley in the wards, is it outside of those players that Galway need to get more from?
Like, I suppose, I don't like naming players, but like you look, I suppose, like Ciara will agree with me, when you look back on our Ireland final against Dublin that year, Olivia was stopped running, I suppose Nicola was stopped running, Louise was stopped running. The game at the minute is very much a running game and a hand passing game in my eyes. There was no kicking game, or there was nothing developed around outside of that. And I just feel on the day, we had no other option or a go-to plan. I just feel in my eyes, that's where and look, as I said, I don't like naming names. There's 15 players on a pitch, and I suppose that's where other players come into play. But I just feel in the last few years, I suppose that has been our downfall.
That's going to be the big thing again, with Dublin are going to target their Ciara at the weekend too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you think of Galway, you think of that running game, long legs, power up the field over and over again. And I was thinking earlier about, man marking jobs and who's going to match who. And I think Dublin will be able to match those players. Like, you think the likes of Olivia Dibley, I can see Owen Carey being stuck on her from the start to the end of the match. Nicola Ward, Orla Lola might pick her up. Carla Rowe might even pick her up, try to put her on the back foot there. I just think Dublin can sacrifice some players to do a man marking job, and then you have the rest of the team freed up, and all that those man markers need to do is stick with the likes of Olivia, with Nicola, with Louise, just be on their shoulder, be on their hip the whole time throughout the match, frustrate them. Yeah, they're going to have moments of magic. They always do. They're phenomenal players that Dublin would love to have on their side, but you're just trying to limit them. Limit them. It's damage limitation with the likes of those players, and hopefully that the turnovers come in the middle third, or in the Galway half of the pitch. If those runners get at Dublin inside the 45, a lazy hand in, or an accidental trip, or just any little grab of the jersey at all, becomes a dead ball. And Galway have always been lethal under dead balls. Roisin Leonard's going to pop them over from anywhere inside the 45. So that's what Dublin will be identifying. And like Tracey said, you stop Galway's running game, you're in with a very good chance.
On 2019, because that's probably one of the last beatings, that was obviously in the All Ireland final where you came out on top. It's obviously fond memories for you that day, Ciara.
I don't really remember much about the match. I remember when Sinead Goldrick got the goal before half time, laughing that it was Goldie that scored. She definitely wasn't going for goal. And I remember thinking, God, that goal could win us the game, because the weather was so bad. It was so wet. It was so slippy. The handling was poor under the conditions, and nobody was scoring. So I thought, we've an extra 3 points there. It's going to be very hard for Galway to claw that back in the conditions. And That's probably pretty much all I remember. I remember when the rain started to fall, all you could hear was the chairs in Crow Park flapping back up. There was just that noise of that fluttering sound for a while. But other than that, I don't really remember much other than Goldie's goal and kind of having a bit of a giggle down the other end of the pitch.
It's probably one when you look back on. There's obviously disappointment when you come up short that day, Tracy. But this is obviously where this group want to get back to.
Yeah, huge disappointment. Obviously, I know when you get to Croke Park and you get to All Ireland, there's only one thing you want to do is win. I suppose for Galway, we hadn't been in All Ireland since 2005. It was huge for the county to get back there. I suppose just promotion of the game in the county, there was huge. I suppose like support and everything going on for us. So it was a really enjoying time. I suppose for me personally, to captain the team, I never thought I would ever captain my county, and I suppose to captain your county to an Ireland and lead them out on the day is a huge honour for me, and it's one I'll always remember. But definitely, I suppose like a lot of people said to us going into that All Ireland, enjoy it, and you're like, how do you enjoy an All Ireland final? Like when you want to win, and there's a lot of pressure there and performance and everything. But I look back on it now, and I suppose we didn't even get to a semi-final the year after, and last year we were knocked out in the quarter-final. So it's something you take for granted, and like the girls would no doubt, like the older girls and the more experienced girls that are there this year, every game you play, you just don't know when it's going to be your last. So I think while you're in it, you have to make the most. And girls looking ahead to this weekend as well will have that in their mind, and will be going for it, because I suppose they've looking at it this year, there's probably been a lot said about them because it's supposed to be going down to being in relegation battle and going down to Division 2. Chatting to a lot of the girls, they were very disappointed. On home head to Sash Stevens game.
With this for Galway, Ciara, is there an element of there's no pressure here this weekend because everyone's expecting a routine Dublin win, really?
Um, yes and no. I suppose within an inter-county setup, there's always pressure on performance, and your management team will be doing as much as they can not to have the girls focused on a result and a win. It's get out there and perform, and let's do the jobs we've assigned ourselves individually and collectively. Let's meet targets, and the message should be that if we do all these things and we focus on like this process, we can come out with the win. If Galway go in thinking of a result, whether they're favourites to win or not, or underdogs or shackles off, if they're thinking about the results, they'll be on the back foot. But there is an element of freedom that, sure, look, nobody expects anything of us but ourselves. So let's go out and prove to ourselves that we have this performance in us, and prove everybody wrong. And they'd be taking a lot of energy off the back of what happened last weekend with the lads. If we just do our job, everything we've been working on, if we stick to the plan and execute this plan really, really well, what have Dublin got? Can they cope with us? Will we have these moments in the match where we can just nip in a goal and claw the game back, or keep it tight, and then hopefully in the last couple of minutes the luck will fall your way. Mayo kind of asked questions of Dublin in the last round of the round robin, but Mayo were flat, Dublin were flat. It wasn't a great game, and Galway have constantly been asked questions this year, whether I know they're relegated now, but they've been in these tight battles, and even the Connacht final, nipping it at the end, that will stand to them, and they'll have that belief that can Dublin do it? I know they did in the league, come back and win it at the end, but Galway are way more used to those kind of ding dong battles this year. That will give them a bit of confidence. The Cork game, although they came out on the wrong end of that result, will still give them confidence. Their first match or second match back after being relegated. To beat Mayo in the Connacht final, then to nearly beat Cork, who are a very dangerous side, and then to rack up 7-22 in any game of football against any opposition. To have the time in the match and that much possession to score 7-22 is phenomenal. So Galway will be quietly confident that they're not writing themselves off. Absolutely not. And the underdog tag might just suit them in terms of extra motivation. nobody expects anything of us, so let's prove them wrong.
And Tracey, what's the best way for Galway to approach Dublin at the weekend with their setup?
I think, I suppose, for me, for learning on previous encounters with Dublin, like, as Ciara said there, Dublin are going to have identified Galway strong runners. I think you're just going to have to develop a plan outside of that. And I know, like, Dublin are very athletic as well, but you're going to have a very quick transition. And for me, I suppose I've harped on about it in years gone by, and it's getting that ball quick up the field. So it's going to involve like a kick pass up the field, to get your inside forwards on it, like Leanne Cohen, Roisin Leonard, I suppose, like Alva Davra, and all these players. There's a lot of new players that have come into that team as well. Like, I suppose you've your minor All Ireland winning team of Galway as well. So you have young Niamh Divley in there. They're all well capable of kicking scores. So for me, it's that quick transition from, we'll say, definitely our half back line up into the forward line to beat Dublin's fast runners, because like they're very athletic and will be able to get back and get forward as well. So it's going to have, as first of all, developing a plan outside of your strong runners, and second of all is getting a quick transition and getting that ball quick up the field to get scores, because we have top class forwards that are able to get scores.
Do you see, obviously, it's probably stating the obvious here, but Galway, as you mentioned, quick transition, there, it probably is expected that Galway are going to try and play with numbers here behind the ball, frustrate Dublin and get them on the counter?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I suppose you're looking at, I suppose, the games the last while, or I suppose even the last year or two, and it's something that probably really frustrated me is a lot of this transition behind the ball and working it out, and it's all running and hand passing and that. So I think it's up to I suppose Dan and his management team to come up with a plan. I suppose they have probably looked at Dublin numerous times, I can assure, and over the last few years and when we've played them, and they're going to have to come up with something very, very different in order to overcome this phenomenal Dublin team at the weekend, because Dublin went through a transition period. Like, I suppose the time we played them in 2019, as Ciara was saying, like, there's a lot of different names in that team, while there is still a lot of their stronghold players there, like, Sinead Goldrick is back in the team now. There's still a lot of strong names there, but they have redeveloped as well, and they have a lot of young girls that have come in and have produced big performances on big days. So you're looking, I suppose, to Galway this weekend, and they're going to probably look again, as I say, outside of them core players and see, can we come up with a different plan to get over this Dublin team at the weekend?
Is that the best way to approach Dublin, Ciara?
Yeah, I think so. Dublin like to play football, expansive football, and kick and use space. So you've got to limit the space as much as possible. Back when I was playing, I suppose Meads kind of sparked this ultra defensive system. I know it was there in kind of flashes with a few teams before that, but parking everybody behind the ball and counter attacking, it's something we had to work very hard on breaking down. And I think Dublin found a lot of success in how they approached that last year, and being able to break down pack defences is something that they improved on a lot, and won them the All Ireland really. So I don't think Dublin will fear it. I think they'll expect it. But it's what for Dublin to win the game, it's what do they do when Galway turn over the ball. That will be the main thing, I think Galway will try to frustrate Dublin. They'll try to frustrate the likes of Carla Road, Hannah Tyrrell, limit them, frustrate the likes of Goldie coming through midfield, and Jen Dunn, stopping them getting on the ball as late runners. They could frustrate them and slow the game when they don't have the ball, and then when they do have the ball, inject a bit of pace into it. Like Tracey said, kick and use the space that's left in the Dublin attack. Galway can have some luck off the back of that, but I think Dublin will be fairly prepared and expecting Galway to just drop a few extra numbers behind the ball. And I wouldn't like to see Galway put everyone inside the D. I think if you just drop as far as midfield, that'd be plenty, and then you have a good game of football then. And I think maybe that might suit Galway a little bit better to have people there in the middle third to link their transition. But Dublin, yeah, you have to close down space. You have to stop them to playing football. You have to force them laterally, and then pick up their mistakes.
Just on that, because when you're talking about some of the names there, it's fairly frightening for Galway this weekend. But obviously, you started so well with Mick, then Meath came along and won those All Irelands. But obviously, last year Dublin got the Brendan Martin Cup back in their hands, and they look odds on to win it again this year. What's got the hunger back into this squad?
I think losing to Donegal in the quarter final was a very sore one, and we asked a lot of questions of ourselves individually and as a team, and of management and stuff. And I think there was a lot of emotion kind of surfaced off the back of that defeat. And then you have new girls in, and it's kind of like setting a culture for them. That was big for the girls. You know, this is what it takes to win an All Ireland, and you have to raise your game and meet us up here. But I think something that, particularly against Meath in the first All Ireland final, our shot score was awful. I think it was 32% of shots we scored that day. And then the following year it was the same. Just we weren't putting the ball over the bar. And then you look at Dublin now; they've had 17 different scorers in championship. You know, there's more of Dublin's backs are scoring than ever before. Martha Burns getting up there, Goldie's getting up there, putting points to the board. Laura McGee, you know, you're guaranteed a point or two off her every game from half back. Niamh Donnellan, Niamh Crowley, this is only their second year in the team, and they're putting the ball over the bar from cornerback, wingback. So I think that has been Dublin's biggest improvements. I think they can be most proud of how they've integrated these new girls into the match, but also their scoring.
And Tracey, what Galway players have impressed you most this year so far?
Like you've had a lot of new faces, I suppose, in the Galway team this year. Like Mairead Glenn, midfield for me, you know, has really come out of her shell. Mairead was in with us last year, didn't get much game time. And this year, like she's probably one of Galway's has been most consistent performer at midfield. Obviously, like you have your Alva Darvin, I thought is playing very, very well. And so she has come from being in with the Kilmacud setup, and I suppose went all the way to the All Ireland last year. So she's really, really performing as well. Also, I suppose you're looking at Leanne Cohn. I suppose she's a club mate of mine as well. Leanne has probably moved a bit more towards goal, which I like to see. I suppose Leanne had underage, was like a goal master. You know, she was one. I had a great eye for goal, so it's great to see her near a goal. Also, there's a cornerback there as well, Marianne Jordan. I think she's doing very well for her first year in as well at cornerback. You know, it's not easy coming from, you know, she's never played at a county standard. So, you know, bringing her in, she has really, you know, really performed very well. I think Dervla Gower is doing very well as well in goal. Apart from, you know, obviously your more established players that are there, like the Wards twins, you know, they're phenomenal players. Olivia Dibley is doing very, very well. And then obviously my own cousin Roisin, she's quite deadly off the ground, taking frees and that. So overall, you know, it's a very good team on paper. It's just going to be a big task, I think, at the weekend. This Dublin outfit are I suppose they've been produced in the last few years and are really getting, you know, they're getting their victories and performances right. So it's just whether we can get our performance right on the day is going to be a big factor, and whether we can nullify their game and stop their strong runners. Like, you know, you're going to have runners coming here like Lara McGee from the back, Sinead Gordick as well from the back. You know, them along with their stalwart forwards need to be marshalled. So that Galway are going to have a big task on their hands on Saturday evening.
Who marks Carla Rowe, Hannah Turrell, Jennifer Dunn, and Sinead Goldrick this weekend, Tracey? I know it's very daunting when I say it there.
Yeah, so this is it. Like, I suppose, like, you know, we'll say you're definitely, Nicola Ward's probably going to be on Carla Rowe. So, like, that battle is going to balance itself out. Sarah Lynch is probably going to pick up Hannah Turl. Sarah and Hannah are both very experienced players. So then again, it's going to be a flip of a coin there who comes out on top in that battle. And then Jennifer Dunn at midfield, whether he goes with, does he give Alva Davern a free role, or does he put Alva on Jennifer Dunn? It's a hard one for him. Like, Mairead Glenn is very athletic as well. Does he put Mairead Glenn to run with Jennifer Dunn? It's very much, I suppose, he's probably going to have to. I see them as the matchups. Just midfield, I just don't know which of them he'll go with, but it's just going to be, I suppose, who comes out on top. And look at it, I suppose every day one player is going to have a better game than another, so it's just going to be, I suppose, human nature.
Those are the crucial ones, really, from a Galway perspective this weekend, Ciara. But I suppose there's a certain excitement too when Tracey's mentioning some of those battles that are going to happen between these two sides on Saturday.
Yeah, if you're thinking about the battles, Tracey mentioned Hannah Tyrrell, Carla Rowe. If you keep them to 2 or 3 scores, or keep them, she only scored from dead balls. That's Galway have won the battles there, and same, if you keep Roisin Leonard to only, scoring from dead balls as well, you've nullified her. You don't want Olivia Divley popping up and getting a couple of scores. Limit her to having to offload the ball every time she gets forward, and same with Louise Ward, Nicola Ward. Make sure that when they get forward, they have to pass. They don't have opportunities to shoot. Which that's just that Tracey there was naming those battles. I was thinking of players Dublin players she hasn't named. Who's going to mark Orla Nolan? Who's going to mark Caoimhe O'Connor, Kate Sullivan? Like, the pace the two of them have, how do you keep up with them? The only players that can keep up with them two are each other. If Martha Byrne attacks, who's gonna track her? Whose job is that? It's Galway. It's nearly like, if we stop Dublin's first phase of attack, it's the second phase and the third phase that is nearly just as deadly. So there's battles everywhere all over the pitch, and for Galway, they need the girls that aren't the big names, that aren't the stars of the team. They need them to really, really perform, to have their best performance, because it's grand Nicola Ward keeping Carla Rowe quiet. She can do that. There's no problem. Everyone knows she's capable of doing that. And it's the smaller battles, the battles that aren't going to get the headlines, that's going to win or lose the game for both teams. And I think, if you look at those smaller battles, maybe Dublin are a little bit stronger. So it's a big task, and it's a big day for those Galway players that don't grab the headlines. And even the Galway bench, coming on and fresh legs, or the finishing team, or those 5 subs, are they coming on to do a man marking job, or are they coming on to punish? And that would be a tactical call based on how the game is going. But I think, as much as those big man marking jobs are intriguing, I'm kind of fascinated by the little ones, and who can be the star in the Galway team, and an unlikely hero, so to speak.
Just on this before we finish, because it's something we haven't mentioned. Tracey, the game being at 7:30 on Saturday, is that an annoying element as a player here on a Saturday evening waiting for the game all around? It does feel like maybe there could have been better times for this game to take place.
Yeah, so for me, I always hated a late game, but look, it is what it is. You have no choice in it as a player. You just have to go with it, and I suppose you have to get all your preparations right, like you sleep the night before. You're planning the day ahead. It's a trip to Dublin. Food timings, all that. That all comes into place. It is a bit late on Saturday even for a game. You just would wonder, was there not an earlier game, or I suppose maybe moving it to the Sunday or whatnot. But look, these are things that are outside your control as a player, so you have to go with it. But it's the same for the Dublin team. I know while they're at home or whatever, it's still a late game. It's just things you have to throw out of your head and just, I suppose, focus on the game ahead, the day ahead. I suppose your job as a player, whether you're starting or whether you're sub, maybe the impact you're going to have. You'll be thinking of all these things, I suppose, and getting your mind right. It's the only thing you can do as a player now, and control the controllables.
On the promotion of the game element, Ciara, like, do you think this is the right time, or how do you see it?
I think with the Euros now, I think the GAA is losing no matter what time they put the matches on in the evening. Um, it's always frustrated me that fixtures are called by TG Carr's schedule and when they can fit it in, and but that's the way it is if we want to games on TV for those that can't make it, especially Galway supporters or whatever. But it's on a Saturday as well, so that kind of cushions the blow a little bit. There have been games that have been played, at 7 o'clock on a Sunday evening. That would be a nightmare for the Galway girls in terms of getting back down the road for work. And if they were to win the match, getting back down the road and recovering and preparing for the semi-final then. But like Tracey says, it is what it is. If you waste your energy complaining, you're missing a step in terms of preparing for the match. And both teams would have, prepared for that last weekend, and kind of tried mimic and rehearse the day as best they can. And Galway can kill a bit of time on the journey up. The girls that don't mind traveling, it might suit them a little bit. For the Dublin girls, they're hanging around all morning, hanging around at home. That can be tough. I always found that tough. I also liked an earlier game as well. And yeah, look, it's just the cards that are dealt, and it's just an extra challenge for the players. But yeah, if you think about it, it becomes a problem. So I think they'll just dust it off and get on with it.
And Tracey, how do you see it going, and who do you see winning on Saturday?
I see it being a very tight game. I think it's going to be very cagey earlier on. I think, as Ciara said, like, I think Galway are probably going to go behind the ball for a good bit of the first half, I suppose, to see can they settle things down, I suppose, and get control of the game. And I think, as Ciara mentioned, like, you stop, Dublin's strong household names, but like they have other forwards that are as lethal that, you know, she mentioned like Kate Sullivan, like, the speed that they have, like, I suppose Kate Gertie is going to have a man marking job probably in there of marking her. It's just going to be, I suppose, who can make the less turnovers, and if Galway can counteract that and get the ball, I think the quick transition up the field is going to be huge against this Dublin defence, because they have a lot of strong players there, a lot of people with a lot of experience there that Galway are just going to have to, the minute turnover is made, and I suppose they're going to have to punish that turnover. Like, if you get a turnover, you're going to have to be getting scores on the board. You're up against a team now that, if you go up the field and you miss a score, it could come down to punishing you at later stages in the game. Galway is probably going to be needing the biggest performance to date just to overcome this Dublin team, which I have no doubt that they can do on the day. I've often seen it with Galway. I suppose that we come up against a stronger team and we give a better performance than maybe playing a weaker team. Now, there is no weaker team, I suppose, in Division 1 playing league, or, when you get to this stage of championship, there is no such thing as a weaker team. But I think Galway know going into this match on Saturday even that this Dublin outfit are, have always been in front of us and have always probably come out on top. They have always come out on top of us when it comes to the later stage and comes to knockout. So they're going to have a bit of fire in their belly, I have no doubt, going to Parnell Park on Saturday even. And I no doubt that they're well capable of maybe overturning this Dublin outfit if, I suppose, we get our game plan right on the day and have more a plan B game plan outside of our strong running. It just needs a different, I suppose, need a different style of attack and a different style of playing method than we have in other years.
And Ciara, how do you see it going? Oh, you're just on mute there, Ciara.
I think it will be quite cagey, like Tracey said. Goals would be very, very important. I think if Galway can keep Dublin to limited scores in the first half, they're in with a chance. If Dublin can scrape a few goals, I expect Galway's heads to go down a little bit. Both teams have to be very, very patient with the game plan. no matter what end of the pitch the match is on, or the ball is. I think kickouts will be a huge one. Dublin go very quick on their kickouts. So Galway will have to decide, are they going to try squeeze that or get back defensively? You know, what's the priority there? Dublin, no doubt, are going to push right up on Galway's kickouts. So it's, you know, can Dublin turn over the kick-out? Can they punish off the back of that? So it'll be little moments of the game where it will be decided. Hopefully it's not decided by a mistake or a lapse of concentration by anyone. Hopefully, you know, it's not an individual that costs a goal or anything like that, because you don't really like games decided that way. But I think it will be, I don't think either team are going to shoot the lights out. I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game if the first half is kept tight. But I think goals might swing momentum and confidence in both sides. If Dublin get the goals, they'll settle. If Galway get the goals, they'll kick on. So yeah, it's hard to call. I do expect Dublin to win, but you'll have a better read of the game 15 minutes in, how it's going. But yeah, it will be cagey. But look, Dublin shouldn't lose it, but Galway are well capable of winning it as well.
Yeah, so the three other quarterfinals then are Armagh, Mayo, Cork, Waterford, Kerry, Meath, and it's Galway, Dublin, 7:15 Saturday evening in Pernell Park. But that's all we do have time for on today's podcast. Thanks to Ciara and Tracey for coming on.